Good morning, guys. Hi, everyone. My name is Toneka Newhouse, and you guys are tuned into our very first session for Black Writers Weekend this year. As you guys know, of course, we've been dealing with COVID, and we've also been dealing with the culture climate with racism being on the rise, and lots of protests. There's a lot of things that's going on in the world these days. And so we have switched everything virtually. We're still presenting the same great conversations. And of course, we have to bring back access to Hollywood, which is something that creators have loved to attend every single year during Black Writers Weekend. First, I would like to introduce myself, and I'm going to begin to bring in our panelists for this morning, which I'm really, really excited about. A lot of these panelists are the first time being a part of Access to Hollywood. We are bringing back one of our veteran supporters. She's supported every year, Tressa Smallwood, which I'm really, really excited to get her back on the panel this year and kind of catch up with her. And we're going to be introducing new creatives this year. Eric Oliver, Numa Perrier, James Lopez, Toneka Wright, as well as Trey Haley, who is going to be giving their insight on their filmmaking, their journeys, how they even mastered their journeys and got to this point even today. So without further ado, let's begin to bring our guests on. Trey is going to be the first person. Trey, I'm going to ask you in. Yes, get ready, sit up, be nice. I'm glad you made it, by the way. Trey was calling me earlier this morning, guys, thinking that we started at 7 a.m. He's on West Coast time, so I'm so grateful that you were able to make it with us. Let me tell you guys a little bit about Trey. He is the president and partner of Tri-Destiny Studios. He is responsible for overseeing the implementation of all of Tri-Destiny Studios productions and events. Trey's responsibility also includes creating diverse venture partnerships. He recently directed Always a Bridesmaid, which is now streaming on Netflix. And he directs The Man in 3B, which is inspired by books written by the literary legend himself, Mr. Carl Weber. Good morning, Trey. How are you? And let's bring on. Hello?
Yes.
Trey, can you hear me? All right, perfect. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to bring on Miss Tressa Smallwood. Tressa Smallwood is an award-winning book publisher and movie producer. In 2003, after writing her first book, Tressa resigned from her teaching tenure in Maryland school system to fulfill her dream of becoming an entrepreneur. A woman of many hats, she has published hundreds of books and recently is a producer of half a dozen films, such as All in All, The Available Wife, Sinners Wanted, and she's currently has 4 films in production that you can soon see on BETHer. So she's like filming like 4 films at once, kind of like a superwoman over there. Good morning, Tressa.
Good morning, Toneka. Good morning, Trey.
Good morning, Tressa.
Hoping y'all are well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us again, Tressa. You support it every year, so I'm excited to catch up with you and hear about some of the projects you got going on over there.
Awesome.
And let's go into, let's see, Miss Numa. Numa Perrier is a Haitian-American actress, director, writer, producer, and visual artist. She's the co-founder of Black&Sexy TV. Her first featured film, Jezebel, premiered at South by Southwest in 2019, and it is now currently streaming on Netflix. Miss Numa, welcome on to the Access to Hollywood panel.
Hi, thanks for having me. Hey, everyone.
Good morning.
Hey.
Oh, I love your background.
I know. That's
great. Are we in a mansion? I love it.
Thank you.
And then we also have Mr. James Lopez. He is the president of Will Packer Studios. He's responsible for developing and overseeing production on all films and projects through the company's first look deal with Universal Studios. His recent movies he produced were Girls Trip, was one of my favorite, and Night School with the very hilarious. So, Mr. James, welcome on.
Thanks for having me. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, sir.
Good morning.
Oh, wait, we can't hear you. Okay, I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
And yes, I can hear you. Welcome on. Are you on the West Coast or the East Coast this morning?
I'm in LA.
In LA. All right. So it's bright and early over there. Okay. So I hope y'all had y'all coffees then.
That means they love you.
I'm gonna try to behave today. I'm gonna try to be on my best behavior. And not talk so country and stuff. But lastly, let me introduce our last panelist for the morning, which is Toneka Wright. Toneka is the creator of Black Films Academy, and the Academy helps filmmakers learn the art, craft, and business side of making, distributing, and producing their films and making masterpieces. So, Toneka, thank you for joining us, and welcome on to the Access to Hollywood panel.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited as well. So we have a full panel of creatives this morning. Thank you all for waking up this morning and being a part of this conversation. We know that a lot of things are really, really going on virtually. This has been a really life-changing, awesome year for every single person. Every single person, whether you are established, whether you're new, whether you work or you're an entrepreneur, everyone's life was altered this year. So first, I want to kind of check in with everybody and ask, how has, your spirit and your family been this year? How's everything been going for you?
Amazing.
I've been busier than ever in development, believe it or not. Like, it's the busiest I've ever been. Family's great. I got to tell you, in terms of my spirit, it's pretty low this morning. I'm tired.
Okay.
I'm really tired. I'm tired of the way this country treats us. I don't want to get emotional, but it's been a rough 48 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trey, would you like to chime in? How has everything been for you?
Similar to James, we've been busy. We've been when everything happened, we were shooting a family business TV show, and we shut down, but we're about to actually start back up on the TV show in a minute. So we've been in pre-production for the last few episodes that we need to knock out for the next 6 episodes. But I've had, it was going good. And then unfortunately, about 2 weeks ago, not due to COVID, but my mother actually passed away. So that was a really tough, unexpected situation.
Oh, wow.
So I've been really trying to push through that and, look at it as, things happen the way they happen, but, so that's been my journey lately. But, God has timing on everything.
God has a plan.
I'm just trying to roll through it. And as James said, when you deal with things like this stuff that just keeps happening, it keeps going. My dad is actually he's a criminal defense attorney. So I kind of grew up around a lot of this, but to see it now, the rest of the world is seeing what we normally see happening. It really hits hard to, it's hitting hard too, James. So I feel you, brother.
Yeah. Condolences, Trey.
Condolences.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Condolences to you and your family, for sure.
I think for me, I have a very similar situation to both Trey and James. Busier than ever. I don't even know when the last time I had real sleep. I'm actually filming a Christmas movie as we speak, and I use this as an excuse not to go to set this morning. That I had something really important to do. So y'all thank you for let me do this. But I think for me, when the pandemic hit, I was in the middle of producing health initiative films for BETHer, and everything stopped. And for 3 months after that, it was just total craziness trying to figure out if we were going to be allowed to shoot during COVID, which eventually we got to go ahead in June. And I shot 4 movies back to back for fear that they would never let me shoot again. And so it was a really traumatic moment for me during that period of time. I've been married for 24 years, and my husband was like, "Listen, lady, you need to get yourself together. I don't know what's going on here." But with that, and with all the unrest going on in the country, my dad has been chief of police in a lot of different states. And so right now, he's like one of those people that they call for advice. And so every day we're kept abreast, and we're like, it's almost like we're living this moment. So it's been really rough, but God is good. He always comes through. And so I wake up every day telling myself that life is great. God is amazing. And we keep moving.
Love that. I love that. And Tressa, you've always tend to kind of be busy. You're always creating, always putting people in position. You're always moving. And I love the fact that you engage with your audience. How are you all kind of, I guess like this is a question for everybody. How are you continuing to kind of engage with everyone, especially since everything is virtually online now? And I know, guys, you're saying that you're receiving a lot of submissions, you're staying busy, you're in development. So, and I know that a lot of people are now, creating. Like everyone is kind of trying to find that outlet, and everyone has the next best story. So, how are you connecting and finding those new stories during this time? And anyone can answer that question.
So for me, my company, we're already online, so we're already interacting with our audience online. And so during this time, I've just been encouraging them to, like you said, to create. This is an amazing time. You're at home. You're in front of your computer for work to really sit down and write that film you've always wanted to write. So this has been a busy time for me too, but just motivating people to get out there and create something.
And Numa, what about you? I know that you recently, you're known for creating platforms for creatives. You even created your own, which was Black&Sexy TV, which allowed emerging and new creatives to put their stories and their films and their projects out there to the public. So how has it been for you as far as developing new content, receiving new content during this year?
Am I the only one that can hear that loud hissing noise? Is that just me?
Yeah, I'm hearing it here and there. Yeah, but I'm hearing it as well.
It just went away. Thank you. That was like fingernails on the chalkboard for me.
Right, like a
yeah, it's gosh, there's so much to try to kind of address everything that you've brought up already. I'm with you all. I woke up. I'm on the West Coast too. I'm in LA. I woke up, feeling down as well. And I'm constantly trying to negotiate how well things are going for me, professionally and personally, and with my family. I'm happy, but I still wake up a lot feeling heavy and not really knowing how to negotiate both things, just as I kind of carry on. But I'm always creating, so this time is not unlike other times where I'm creating. I'm being kind of demanded to create more right now, kind of with that mix, a little bit of that mix of fear around, well, you got to be doing something so you're ready to go when we come out on the other side of this, speaking about the pandemic. But yeah, it's just really a lot of mixed emotions. It's a very challenging time, and still finding joy and celebration at the same time. So it's a lot.
I'm finding a little bit of the same for myself. Is I'm not being able to focus and challenge myself as much as I could be, but maybe because I'm not able to move around as much, and I'm seeing that some other people are not technically quarantined like they technically are. I see a lot of people kind of moving around and doing trips, and they're catching flights, and they're doing all these things that I feel like we technically should not be doing as of yet. How was the quarantine period for you guys? Were you able to continue on work? Did things kind of get shut down? Did you lose projects? How did it affect your studios and your productions altogether?
For us, we were 2 days away from starting production on a pilot for NBC that got shut down. Fortunately, it was revived, and we came back and shot it 2 weeks ago. Came back for 2 days, crew, knocked it out. So now obviously we're going to wait on whether the network will be picking up the show or not. For me personally, I've never worked this hard in terms of development. The amount of material that the amount of books and scripts that I've been going through, articles. I've also been very inspired. You know, I've Will and I have strategic talks at least 2 or 3 times a week, and we told ourselves in the beginning of this, when we come out of this, we're gonna have at least 4 or 5 movies ready to go, lined up on the runway, and they're gonna have to tell us no, because all 5 of them are gonna be in tip-top shape. So that's what I've been working on all summer is development and making sure that the projects that we have lined up are ready to go. One of them will be moving forward in production this fall in New Orleans. We got the go ahead on that. That one is contained and it all takes place in one house, so it doesn't have. I think it has 5 cast members and that's it. So that is one that we can move forward safely with a great COVID plan. And we have another one with Idris Elba that we will be shooting in South Africa next spring. So 2 out of the 5 that I wanted to get ready to go are ready. And then the other 3 are in various different stages of development that I feel really strong about. So we've just used this time to really, really push forth a lot of our slate and just have them ready and lined up so that we're looking 2 years out still with projects to produce. Without that doesn't even count the new submissions that we really like and we want to make. So that's what we've done with this time, really. And I've been working out of my house, and really I rarely ever leave my property.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess that's not technically a bad thing. Is everybody else kind of going through the same thing or overwhelming of content?
Yes.
Yeah, so much development right now. So much writing.
I guess it's a great thing. Like for people that are there listening, how does that process kind of work? How do people actually submit projects to your company for consideration? Are there open submissions? Is there a process? Do they have to have an agent? Like, how does that normally work for you guys?
For us, we prefer an agent or an attorney submit the material. I get DMs, I get emails. I don't know how my email gets out there, but and I try to explain to people, that's the safest way. It protects both the creator and us. I can't tell you how many times or that, it's like people we've never heard of, never met. So we just don't take unsolicited material because, it protects both parties. So we prefer it coming in through an agent or an attorney just so that it's recorded, and that we can best track the submission process. It protects all involved.
Yeah. We a lot of times we have obviously we work with someone like Carl Weber who has a plethora of books, and his company Urban Books Media, Urban Books Publishing is the source. A lot of times we're really big on the empowerment behind the scenes with like actors or people that we know that were close to us that have projects, such as Yvette Nicole Brown. So she did Always a Bridesmaid. She wrote that script, and that was something that she brought to us, had a meeting with us. So it's still in a safe haven. And then, we make sure we do all of our things to make sure everybody is protected at the same time. And then there's sometimes networks, they send us, I'm sure, a lot of times people within the network or a distributor contacts us and says, hey, we have a project. Would you be interested in working on this with us? So there's a couple of different ways we do it, but the safest way is through the agent or a manager, or sometimes, people are like, well, hey, I don't have one. I don't have this. How do I get it in? So it's always a catch-22 with that sometimes, because there are really good projects out there. And sometimes people don't have the access to get to those managers or agents, or, there are people who say, hey, we're not taking anybody anytime. So if we ever did an unsolicited, it would have to come to a highly reliable source and something that we would put them with someone to say, hey, have this person submit it for you to us. We try to help guide them a little bit with it, but he is correct with that. You have to really watch, because everybody has a story, and a lot of people think they have this unique one story that nobody else has in the world. And then you find out 25 other people have the same exact idea. It's just twisted. Yes.
And Tressa, I also wanted to ask you too, as far as how do you go about finding, oh, hold on, let's add Tressa back in. She's not in the queue. There she goes. So, hey, how do you actually select projects? Because at this point, you announced a couple weeks ago you were filming like 4 films, like all at once. So how do you actually go about selecting the projects that you would like to actually bring on? And are these actual projects that your team has written, or these are projects that's being submitted to you from strangers? Like, take us a little bit into your process.
Yeah, so my process is a little bit different because Megamind Media is we have 2 separate arms to the business. So one, my primary goal when I first started the company was to take the books under Life Changing Books. We have 164 books under my book publishing label, which Toneka, you and I kind of came up in the book game. So you are familiar with a lot of those projects. And so the goal was to take those projects and turn those into movies or create TV series. And so to date, I've only actually put 5 of those books into publication, into production. But while that was happening, another arm of the business kind of emerged, and I didn't really anticipate that. But now we actually do production services for networks as well. On that side, So on that side, I don't own the project. So that's the difference. People have to decide what's your business model. Primarily, I want to own my catalog. And so out of the 9 movies that I've done, I only own the rights to 5 of those as we speak right now. I'm leaning more towards constantly putting up my own money, producing my own projects so that I can own them and license them back. And so with that, I'm taking projects from the Life Changing Books catalog. If it's something that I'm doing with the network, then the submission process is very similar to what Trey just explained.
And Tressa, you're right. Like, me and you definitely started in the publishing industry, and I've been seeing you grow and evolve. Very, very proud of you, and you're actually doing everything that you said you were going to do. So I love the fact that you continue to push forward. You're breaking down those doors, and you're actually creating your own lanes. Like, you're showing people that you can produce it yourself, license it yourself, and you can own it. So I'm very, very proud of the journey that I'm seeing you actually, travel down. Like, I'm excited. You're going to be getting Oscars and stuff one day.
Oh,
okay. But I'm familiar with your beginnings, but I'm not familiar with Trey, James, Toneka, Numa. I'm not familiar with how you guys started. So for those who are in the beginning stages, they haven't had that opportunity, to get their books read or their films even seen. How did you guys kind of get started? And what was that pivotal moment in your career that basically says, boom, I made it? And Toneka, you can go first.
Basically, I started out making independent films maybe 10, 11 years ago. And with the digital age, I started to kind of help filmmakers that I knew grow YouTube and Instagram and Facebook audiences to kind of, make money from their independent films. And so I came up with the idea to start the Academy for new filmmakers who aren't able to get to everyone else who's on the panel to actually build an audience and make money so that when they are ready to come to everyone else here, they'll have a fan base already in place to make them look more attractive.
And Numa, tell us how you got started.
Oh gosh, how far back should I go? I've been I was a kid, creating my own material since I was 7, 8 years old. I've been writing, directing, and acting in my own stuff. And that's always been, my most successful action is to create my own lanes and create my own work and find an audience from there, even if it was only my family at first, and then seeing that grow. So definitely launching Black&Sexy TV was one huge milestone in terms of ownership and in terms of, green lighting my own projects and being able to bring and incubate ideas and bring in other very new talents into the digital space. So definitely digital native, self-generator. And that's what I continue to do, even in the feature film space. That's how I broke through, was by creating my own feature film and being my own publicist for that, and pushing that where it needed to go and letting it multiply.
Trey, can you take us into your beginnings?
Yeah, so you know what? Moving out to LA, I knew, kind of like coming from Dallas, Texas, knew no one when I moved to LA, and just kind of navigated the the waters out here. Met my business partner, my business partner, Indy Brown Jones, and we really came up with this concept of just really wanting to empower. We see in movies like Boomerang and a lot of films like that inspired us, among other movies that just flipping the storylines and putting us in empowering positions and storylines where we win, where we are not always the second, person in line. We are the top person, and showing us in a way that we're empowered. Like I said, we're in empowered positions. No matter what the storyline may be, we're always winning. And then along the way, while we were building one step at a time, just putting money together, figuring it out. I have an editing background, a technical background. She has like that business mindset from FAMU, and she went to she has her MBA. So it was really perfect. Two people in their different lanes on the same team moving forward. And I got my first start though from a gentleman named Darren Grant, who gave me my first job in LA, and he showed me a lot of ways to do. I thought breaking in was going to be through music videos. So I was working with him, and he showed me a lot of things, like as far as how to do treatments, and me watching him just direct and him giving me that opportunity. Along the way, we start shooting our own film. Our second film we made, actually Blockbuster, we actually licensed it directly to Blockbuster at that time. So that was big for us because our second movie, and we got a direct deal with them. Along the time I was doing that, I also had an internship for 6 months with Morgan Freeman's company. And I got a chance to do it was like a intensive 6 months inside his company. And they showed us how to pitch, break down scripts, from everything from the pre-production to the post-production. And I went to film school, but this was a whole nother game. Like, this is when you really see the real stuff, So that really helped us. And I think giving me an inside scoop of how you really do this game. And among that, we just kept going. And, we just kept shooting. We just never we had the attitude. We will never let anything stop us from making a project. We're going to figure out a way to make it happen. And we just did every single time. And it just kept building until we had distributors, meeting people in one movie at a time, relationships being consistent, doing good business, that consistency though of doing good business and making a mark where people trust you, and then being in empowering people. I think that put us in a position where when people got a chance to do things that they didn't normally get a chance to do, it started driving people to us to say, hey, let's collaborate a lot with each other.
Love that.
I love that too. And then I'm going to jump to you, James, in just a moment. So we do have a question for the audience. I'm going to ask the panel after we hear from James. James, can you take us into your beginnings?
Yeah, I'll try to make it as fast as possible. It's a long story. I came in through the executive ranks. I was a music executive for 18 years. I know
Oh, okay.
Before I got into film. I bounced around at a few record labels in the 90s, and in 2000, I became a marketing executive at Atlantic Records. I ended up running the marketing department there for a decade, worked with numerous successful artists, was at the top of my game, but I was starting to get burned out on the business. I didn't have the love for it that I once had, and started to question myself and ask myself what was next for me. And I always had a love for film and television. I just didn't know how to break in. I really didn't have a lot of connections there, but what I did have was resources in music. And those resources were music videos to learn more about physical production and soundtracks to build those relationships at studios. So I went to my bosses at Atlantic. I said, I want to be more involved in video production and I want to be more involved in the soundtrack business. So that's what I did. And that's how I built my relationships on the film side. But I also learned a lot more about physical production, just doing smaller productions for the company, commercials, music videos. Trey, it's funny you mentioned Darren. Darren's one of my closest friends. And I used to hire Darren for music videos when I was at Atlantic. Darren did TI video for me.
Darren speaks of you highly.
Did After video, TI videos, Fat Joe videos, so Darren and I are very close. But through that process, I kind of watched and learned. In around 2006, I had my first on-set film experience. One of my artists, TI, was doing his first film, ATL. And we were recording an album at the same time in Atlanta. So I spent a lot of days on set watching the process. But I was particularly interested in watching the producer. I felt that my role at the record label was most like a producer. So I watched that closely, asked a lot of questions, and had some early mentors that introduced me around town in LA. And then in 2009, T.I. was doing his second film, Takers. And on that set, I met Clint Culpepper, the president of Screen Gems, Sony Pictures at the time, and my current producing partner, Will Packer. We spent a lot of time on that set and talking about film and culture and the lack of Black executives. And I struck up a friendship with Clint, and I credit him for giving me the first opportunity in film. I became an executive at Sony Pictures the next year. Worked at Screen Gems for 10 years as a production executive. And most of the films I oversaw were Will's films at Screen Gems. So we had built a partnership starting from Takers all the way up until now. So it only made sense 5 years ago when he picked up the phone and called me. It was like, hey, come run my company. And I felt it was time for me to leave the studio system. I had been in corporate ever since 1993, working in corporations at record labels and then at a studio. And I decided it was time to build something for ourselves and have more of an ownership stake. So I decided to get off of the corporate treadmill and become more entrepreneurial. So that's how I became a producer.
Okay. Very inspiring, James.
That was a very inspiring journey. It wasn't quite short, like you said, but it was definitely an inspiring story. I was like, dang, James. But we ended up getting a question from the audience, and I think this is a really good one as far as collaborative projects. How do you guys kind of choose, or are you open to collaborating and doing some projects together? There's a lot of greatness right now in this panel. So, including me, y'all want to collaborate with me? Y'all collaborate with me.
I am certainly working with Miss Numa, yeah, for sure.
Well,
Okay, Numa.
Head.
I can be a PA.
Please feel free to reach out. I would love to talk.
Very familiar with your work and been watching. So
Thank you. Likewise.
got to figure it out.
We shall.
Yeah, I think
And anybody else?
yeah, I'm always looking for collaborations with people. As I listen to the different stories of how people got started, that's the key. And so for everybody that's watching this, and you know, and coming here just to speak to the panelists, networking, collaborating, that's the way. You can't do this all by yourself. And there's no reason, right? I personally believe in divine connections. I pray about everything. So if you see me with somebody, best believe the Lord sent them to me.
Right.
So I'm just real serious about that. I feel like the reason why all of this has worked out for me is because I prayed on it. I didn't produce my very first film until 2015. And so from 2015 to 2020, to have 9 major films under my belt, that's the Lord. So for me, I'm just going to stay on that track and just see who he allows me to collaborate with.
Me.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right. So I'm loving everything that you guys have been able to accomplish and do thus far. What is coming up now that 2020? We're going to like the last few months of 2020. I know that pitch season is going to be coming up pretty soon. So how is this year going to kind of flow for you guys going into 2021? What are you guys currently working on?
I feel like it's pitch season right now. You know, I'm like, there's so much pitching going on right now. I think partially because kind of like echoing what everyone is saying, everyone's trying to have their projects lined up for when production really kicks back in. So I have a few projects, an erotic thriller TV series that's being taken around right now, and other feature films. It's just a lot going on, but I'm really excited about what's happening for me in that space of the erotic thriller.
For me, for 2020, it's busy already, but I think as a result of COVID, so many Black creatives have found that they're ready to step into their dreams, and so just helping them to see those through for 2020.
Yeah, I think for me, every day is pitching season for me all year long. I'm constantly pitching. More than 50% of my business is me funding my own films. And so that means I'm always chasing money, right? And so people run from me typically. So I'm going to spend the latter part of 2020 funding all of the projects that I'm going to do in 2021. And so for me, I always go into it, speaking it into existence, knowing that I'm producing this film. And so the calendar is booked. And now I just go find the funding.
For us, we're finishing out family business, and we also are working in the animation space now. We're looking and getting into that, so we have working. So a really great opportunity to work in that, and connected with a great animation company that we're teaming up with. We also have a Christmas movie as well. Now that did get a little bit pushed because we were working on getting that. But due to COVID, that did push that a little bit. But that's another project that we have going on. But we're always, like they said, we have several things lining up. But this animation one is a really big one for us that we're really excited about moving forward with. And we always just try to do different genres and making sure we just push ourselves and push our boundaries. And always building, and collaborations are always big for us. So we're always teaming up with people and trying to find that win-win scenario with whoever we work with.
Love it. And wait, did everybody go?
No, I didn't go.
Come on, Jane.
Bridesmaid, by the way. Always a bridesmaid. Always a bridesmaid. I enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed that too. I watched that as well.
Thank you.
For me, it's just continuous development and really pushing the studios and distributors that we have deal with on these projects to be ready to go. We're moving forward with production responsibly, with plans in place given the pandemic. So the rest of the year will be basically just lining up those projects I spoke about earlier. And what makes me proud of them is that they're all in different genres, and have them ready to go as soon as we come out of this. And some of them we'll try to execute even before we come out. So that's the rest of the year for me.
And we're going to go ahead and bring in, wait, is my mic muted? Oh, no, it's not. We're going to go ahead and bring in Mr. Eric Oliver, who is joining us as well. Eric is an assistant director that has been creating films for quite a while now. Some of his films that he's worked on have been A Time to Kill, Rush Hour, and then most recently Raising Beyond, which is a series that's currently streaming on Netflix. Hi, Eric, welcome on. Thank you for joining us. Wait, he's on mute. Okay, unmuted. Howdy, Eric. Okay, so we can hear you now. So hi, thank you for joining us.
Sure.
How have you been doing so far this year?
Oh, so far, not too bad. Things are kind of strange
Not
with
too bad.
going on, but making the best of it.
And I'm going to throw you into the conversation and ask everybody this question as we kind of go towards like the end of our panel segment. We do have some creatives that have submitted some projects that we're going to share with you guys after this panel is over with. We want to be able to kind of protect their content. We don't technically want them to be presenting and saying, you know, what their project is about to everybody. But so we're going to be sharing some of these submissions with you guys to kind of give them some feedback. Perhaps if you like them, then, you know, maybe they can go into development. Eric, can you take us a little bit into your development process? How do you select the projects that you actually want to work on?
Well, here's the thing. I've just, so everybody knows, I've been an assistant director pretty much for coming up on 30 years now. In that time, I've done all sorts of things. I've assisted on as a faculty advisor for student films. I've worked on short films. I've helped friends with films, worked on features and episodic television. Just to be clear, I did not direct Rush Hour, if anybody's confused by that. I was an assistant director on that show. But basically, I go where the work is. And if it's a project that looks interesting, that's something that I can live with having worked on, I'll do it. I try to collaborate with people that I've worked with before, just because that makes it easier knowing what you're getting into. But pretty much, I go where the work is for me.
Oh, James just said he needed a first AD for a feature that he's doing in Nolan.
Uh-oh.
So y'all can talk about that.
James is on it.
James is trying to put his team together. So he said, "You available?" I'm gonna let y'all work that out.
Everybody's available right now.
Right.
No, you'd be shocked. New Orleans is very busy right now.
Oh, really?
It's pretty difficult crewing up right now down there. So that's why I'm asking. We can talk offline.
And Eric, I'm not sure if you just saw that question. Someone asked about if you're Afro-Latino. Are you or you? No.
No, that was me.
My father's Black, mother's white.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. All right, cool beans. So let's go into you guys' challenges. I know that you guys, this journey isn't technically perfect or easy. It's all about building relationships for the most part, because there's talent everywhere. And you guys have proven that you do have talent. You also proven that you have the discipline to push forward and get things done. What have been some challenges in your journey? And have you guys ever thought about quitting or giving up and doing something different?
No.
It was like no.
Sometimes I'll play that game. Like, what would I do if I weren't, but it's actually maybe one of the things that pushes me is I'm like, well, what the hell else am I going to do? This is what I do. This is who I am, but when I do play that game of, what if writing, directing, and acting and this whole show business movie making didn't exist, I would probably work in rehabilitation. Yeah, that's what I would work in.
Wow.
But no,
Okay. Good.
I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here forever.
Yeah. It's a no for me too. There's no way I would give up. Times do get really, really tough being independent, but I always look back and say, hey, you know, you went from being a school teacher to an author to a book publisher to a filmmaker. Why would you give up now? So, you know, every time it gets tough, I just say, all right, I'm gonna find a way, and we just keep pushing.
Yeah. And just keep pushing. Yeah. Toneka?
I started out in IT, and I have no plans of going back. So that's it for me. Not going back.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I've never ever had a thought of ever quitting. I never had a B plan. It was always like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stick with this, and there's no backups. You know, like I said, when I came out here, it was just tunnel focused, and that was it. I play. You know, everybody's gonna have your own different journey. There's no one way to break in, but I will tell anybody that ever thought about quitting, that is the barometer to tell you whether or not that this is what you want to do. Because if it hits you right there, if you can push past that, you know that this is what you were made to be. You know, I believe, you know, there are moments in anybody's life, like there's going to be a shift that happens. It's going to take you to another place or another adventure. But when it's your passion and it's something that you're truly committed to, you'll just go through it. You just push through, and you'll trust that you'll have a divine intervention that's going to help guide you to the right place. And a lot of times it is just building you. It's building your character. It's building who you are. It's this journey. Like I said, we all have the creative elements, and everybody's super creative, but it's what's inside of you, inside out, that's going to help push you through all of this to get through it all. So you have to not only build your creative world, you have to build your internal world so that you don't fail yourself. That's how I believe it.
Well said. I'll say one of the challenges I've had is part getting out, because being an assistant director, I'm a creative person also. So trying to figure out how to balance all of that. There's so many options for what things I can do. I've also worked, in art department, and that's something I really enjoy. So I think part of the challenge I've had is figuring out how to seg into other places. I'm known as one thing, which is what happens. You get known as one thing, and it's sometimes hard to move into that other thing, but you always have to sort of keep in mind what it is you want to do. Sometimes it's harder to get there than others, and putting it out there so that people know what it is you're looking for. Nobody can help you out if they don't know you need the help or are looking for it. So that's one thing that's always been a challenge for me.
That's true. No one can help you out. They don't know. That's true. Wait, and James?
No, it's never crossed my mind to give up. I think I've lived a blessed life, to have been a successful music executive and then film executive, then producer. It's been a blessing. I do have hard days. There are days where it's challenging. You get frustrated and you feel like you're working 2 and 3 times as hard as other folks, and they're getting further than you, but you just keep pushing. But I've never had thoughts of quitting. Absolutely not.
And I want to piggyback on that question for myself, because putting together events such as Black Writers Weekend as well as the AANPC Awards has always been challenging because people or media were not so embracing to our stories, or they weren't putting us technically on the red carpets, on the covers of the magazines. We weren't getting as much distribution as our other white counterparts. And putting together festivals like this was basically saying, hey, come support all these Black folks. And it wasn't technically the most easiest thing to do. And then especially sometimes with getting other Black people to come on and other Black creatives, it's always been that advocating for us in that journey to get people to see the vision, to get them to excited about coming to talk about their projects, talk about their stories, come and see these films, come and read these books. So I've personally been dealing with that challenging journey of just getting other people excited, because Black Rise Weekend is for the people. It's not technically just me, where I could just do it and then it's good to go. So I've been going down that journey myself, just finding different ways to get media, interested, get different studios to be a part, getting different brands to support. So I'm right there with you guys. Not have I never decided, I've never wanted to actually quit, but definitely got frustrated a couple of times. And then for me, I've always just found just another door or another outlet or another relationship. And as Eric stated, asking for the help, telling people what I'm doing and getting other people involved. So I do want to encourage those who are listening, if you are going down that path of trying to find the source to help, push you forward, just keep having those conversations, keep attending conversations such as this and events such as these. And then when we come back and the world is open next year, kind of Black Rise Weekend next summer and meet some of these people actually in person. Tressa, I want to kind of jump to you. You have been very influential in the journey for what Black Rise Weekend is today, especially mine, because every year you're supporting. Every year you come, you speak, you give people feedback. One year, we lost the venue because someone, one of the venue owners, took my funds, took my monies, and then we didn't have anywhere for over 100 people to go. We had to find a venue within 24 hours. And instead of you being upset or mad or whatever, we sat down and we made a plan to make it work. So I always remember that moments like that have set me up for other, situations where I can handle it. And I kind of just go back to moments like that. So I'm like, okay, let me find a solution versus getting frustrated. So can you share a little bit on why you chose to support and why you feel like these type of events and things are needed?
Absolutely. So I always choose to support you because I watch what you do for people who don't know where to start. You've always been that person to put the platform out there, whether it was in person, whether it was on the internet. And you've been doing this, Toneka, I think you were probably 21, 22. I remember your children being really young. And so because I've watched that drive in you, I've always said, I'm going to make it work no matter what. I don't care where it's been, anything that you hosted. I made sure I got on a plane and got to you. A lot of what I've been able to do has been from supporters and people who believed in me, people who would do things for me at no cost when I didn't have the funds to even do things. And so for me, I'm always going to give back and help people who need to help others. And I feel like that's what your gift is, supporting others, helping others, whether it's through Black Writers Weekend, whether it's through any of your other events. The part about not giving up, that's major. I listened to even Numa when she said, her journey and started talking about her start. Sometimes we all see other people moving and you look over and you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm not doing what they're doing, or I can't, why can't I get to where they are? What's going on here? And sometimes we feel like the underdog, whatever space we're in. But for me, I just simply say, keep my eye on my road. I would encourage others to keep your eye on your own road. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing, because they may seem bigger than you. They may seem better than you. It might seem like they have more opportunities than you, but run your own race. And so I'm just excited, Toneka, and really proud of you to just watch you run your own race. You've been doing it for a long time.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And I want to thank everybody who was a part of the panel today. Everyone, I know it's early out there in the West Coast. So I really appreciate you guys calling in early. I want to have an open invitation for you guys to definitely come and be a part of Black Rise Weekend next summer when we return, the second weekend in June. I definitely want to keep having these conversations with you guys and discovering what films and projects that you have coming out so we can connect them with our network and our attendees. And yeah, anybody have any closing questions or remarks before we kind of conclude this morning? All right. Well, again, if anyone wants to find out where you can find, where you can find these creators.
Yeah, I'm like, I gotta go log my daughter on for school. Like school starts in 1 minute.
Right. School about to start and stuff. Right. But you see everybody's names up on the screen here. Make sure you go and search these individuals. Again, everyone, I will be sending you the submissions for our pictures who have submitted their projects for you guys to provide some feedback. If you enjoy it, let us know. We can connect you with these creatives so that you can further those conversations. And then continue to create, be blessed, and I hope to see you guys next summer.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
All right.